The scene was serene, almost deceptively so. A quiet Austin neighborhood, the type of place where nothing out of the ordinary was ever supposed to happen. But that night, chaos had spilled into the home of Stephen Beard. I arrived on site shortly after the 911 call. The house was already cordoned off, flashing lights illuminating the dark streets, and officers moved quickly to secure the area. Inside, the tension was palpable. Stephen Beard had been airlifted to the hospital by the time I arrived, but the remnants of violence lingered. Blood pooled on the bedroom floor, stark against the plush carpeting. A single shotgun shell lay nearby, discarded evidence of a brutal attack. Officers on site had already collected preliminary evidence, marking the scene for further examination. Christina Beard, the 18-year-old stepdaughter of the victim, sat in the living room, pale and visibly shaken. Her mother, Celeste, hovered near her, speaking in low tones. The other twin, Jennifer, had been staying elsewhere that night and was on her way. I approached Christina gently, knowing she was likely overwhelmed, but every detail mattered. Her account was fragmented, the recounting of a chaotic, terrifying night. She mentioned being woken by her mother's panicked cries about someone at the door, hearing banging and seeing flashing lights. What struck me was her description of Celeste's demeanor. She seemed unnaturally calm, almost detached, after the initial panic. And then there was the whisper. "If the police ask, don't mention Tracey's name." That statement stuck with me. Tracey Tarlton. A name mentioned in passing, with no apparent connection to the crime, yet important enough for Celeste to issue a warning. I made a mental note to follow up on it. The search of the home revealed no signs of forced entry, yet a side door was found unlocked. It appeared someone had walked straight into the house, headed up the stairs, and shot Stephen at close range. The precision and intent suggested familiarity. This wasn't a random burglary gone wrong. Christina and Jennifer provided DNA swabs, as did Celeste. While protocol dictated we rule out all family members present at the time of the attack, there was something about Celeste that didn't sit right. Her responses were measured, her grief oddly rehearsed. She oscillated between tears and moments of eerie composure, the kind that feels like a mask slipping. I decided to pull Christina aside for a more private conversation. When I asked her about Tracey Tarlton, her reaction was immediate. She hesitated, then relayed her mother's warning. "I don't know why she said that," Christina admitted, but her suspicion was evident. It doesn't make sense, unless she thought Tracey did it. This was no ordinary home invasion, no simple act of violence. As I left the house that night, I couldn't shake the sense that we were only scratching the surface. The crime scene whispered of secrets yet untold, and I knew we'd have to dig deep to uncover the truth behind the shotgun shell, the blood, and the quiet, deliberate chaos that had upended the Beard household. The following day, I returned to the station, armed with questions that kept gnawing at me overnight. Who was Tracey Tarlton, and why had her name come up so pointedly? A quick background check revealed she was a bookstore manager, 45 years old, with no prior criminal record. Yet, her connection to Celeste Beard couldn't be ignored. A closer look revealed that she and Celeste had recently been close friends, spending significant time together. Too close for it to be incidental, but what was the nature of their relationship? While the forensics team continued processing evidence from the crime scene, I decided to focus on gathering statements from those closest to the family. I started with Christina, who had already shown signs of unease about her mother's behavior. Her twin sister, Jennifer, joined us during the interview. Both girls were articulate but visibly nervous, frequently exchanging glances as if confirming what was safe to share. Their accounts painted a troubling picture of life with Celeste. According to the twins, their mother's behavior had become increasingly erratic in recent months. Outbursts, wild mood swings, and manipulative tendencies. Jennifer revealed a particularly alarming detail. Her mother had once suggested she and Christina pick out caskets for themselves. She said it like it was a joke, Jennifer explained, but there was something in her eyes. It didn't feel like a joke. Christina added her own suspicions. She keeps bringing up Tracey. It's like she's trying to control what we say about her. Why would she do that if Tracey wasn't involved? Their testimony raised even more questions. If Celeste had something to hide, why risk involving her daughters? Why mention Tracey at all? The more I thought about it, the more it seemed like misdirection, a deliberate effort to keep the twins focused on Tracey while steering investigators away from something else. But what? Meanwhile, at the lab, forensic results were coming in. The shotgun shell found at the scene was a match for a 20-gauge shotgun. This crucial piece of evidence pointed us in a clear direction, but the weapon itself was still missing. To get answers, I issued a search warrant for Tracey Tarlton's home. When we arrived at her modest Austin residence, Tracey appeared calm but wary. She allowed us inside, and within minutes, we found the shotgun tucked away in her bedroom closet. The serial number confirmed it was registered in her name. Testing would later confirm it was the weapon used to shoot Stephen Beard. Tracey was arrested on the spot, charged with attempted murder, and brought in for questioning. However, she refused to talk, clamming up the moment we sat her down in the interrogation room. Her silence was deafening, but it only strengthened my resolve to uncover the truth. Someone had orchestrated this, and Tracey, as the shooter, was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. In the weeks that followed, Celeste's behavior grew even more peculiar. With Stephen in the hospital fighting for his life, she remained outwardly supportive of her daughters but displayed strange, inconsistent emotions. One moment she was tearful, the next detached and cold. Her mood swings became more pronounced during interactions with the twins. According to Christina, Celeste would vacillate between consoling them and berating them for making things worse by cooperating with investigators. I interviewed Celeste twice during this period. Both times, she maintained her innocence, feigning confusion about why anyone would target her husband. He was a wonderful man, she told me, her tone bordering on melodramatic. I loved him dearly. Yet, her statements lacked depth, as if she were reading from a script. It was during one of these interviews that she made a telling slip. When I asked about Tracey, her response was oddly rehearsed. "Tracey is a good friend, but she's been struggling mentally," Celeste said. "I've tried to help her, but I don't think she's stable." This remark stood out. Why emphasize Tracey's instability unless Celeste was laying the groundwork for a potential scapegoat? While Celeste tried to maintain her composure, Stephen's condition worsened. Despite doctors' efforts, he succumbed to his injuries after months of battling infections caused by the gunshot wound. His death changed everything. What had been an attempted murder case was now a homicide, and the stakes were higher than ever. With Stephen's passing, the twins became more desperate for answers. They began noticing more troubling patterns in their mother's behavior. Jennifer confided in me about a disturbing incident in which Celeste suggested a family pact to end their suffering. She even pulled out a knife, Jennifer said, her voice shaking. She stabbed herself in the leg right in front of us. Christina added, "It wasn't about hurting herself. It was about controlling us. She wanted to make us feel like there was no way out." These revelations cast a sinister light on Celeste's actions. What kind of mother would suggest such a thing? More importantly, what was she trying to achieve? The break in the case came when Christina, determined to protect herself and her sister, began secretly recording her mother's phone calls. Her instincts were correct. In one chilling conversation, Celeste confessed to hiring someone to take care of Tracey. The implication was clear. Tracey was no longer useful and had become a liability. This audio recording was the smoking gun we needed. It confirmed not only Celeste's involvement but her manipulative nature. She had used Tracey as a pawn to carry out the shooting, only to turn on her once the plan unraveled. Armed with this new evidence, I revisited Tracey in prison. This time she talked. Tracey revealed that Celeste had seduced her, drawing her into a romantic relationship, while feeding her lies about Stephen's alleged abuse. "She made me believe I was saving her," Tracey admitted, her voice trembling. She said she couldn't live with him anymore, that he was dangerous. Tracey's testimony painted a damning picture of Celeste's calculated manipulation. Not only had she orchestrated the murder, but she had also preyed on Tracey's vulnerabilities, using her as both an accomplice and a scapegoat. By March 2002, we had gathered enough evidence to arrest Celeste for capital murder. The case was solid, but I knew the trial would be contentious. Celeste was a master manipulator, and her defense team would stop at nothing to discredit the evidence. Still, I was confident that the facts would speak for themselves. As I watched Celeste being led away in handcuffs, her daughters standing silently nearby, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and sorrow. Justice was finally within reach, but the cost had been immeasurable. For Jennifer and Christina, the fight wasn't just about convicting their mother, it was about reclaiming their lives from the shadow of her betrayal. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the trial began in February 2003. Celeste Beard, dressed in a modest gray suit, sat beside her legal team with an air of composure that belied the gravity of the charges she faced: capital murder. Her daughters, Jennifer and Christina, were present, their expressions steeled with determination. They were no longer the frightened teenagers who once fled their mother's wrath. They were now key witnesses in the prosecution's case. The prosecution opened with a damning statement, laying out Celeste's alleged scheme. The evidence against her was overwhelming: the audio recordings, Tracey Tarlton's testimony, and the financial motives that painted Celeste as a woman willing to kill for money. Over the course of the trial, this picture became clearer as witnesses recounted chilling details about Celeste's behavior. One of the most poignant moments came when Tracey Tarlton took the stand. Her voice was steady but tinged with regret as she recounted the relationship she had shared with Celeste. She described how Celeste had showered her with affection and manipulated her emotions, painting Stephen as an abusive tyrant. "She told me she couldn't live with him anymore," Tracey said. "She begged me to help her. She said it was the only way to save her." When asked about the night of the murder, Tracey detailed Celeste's meticulous instructions: the side door left unlocked, the route through the house, and the location of Stephen's bedroom. She admitted to pulling the trigger but made it clear that Celeste had orchestrated every step. "I thought I was helping her escape a nightmare," she said. "But now I see I was just a pawn in her game." Her testimony was devastating for the defense. It confirmed not only Celeste's involvement, but her willingness to exploit others for her own gain. The twins' testimonies were equally harrowing. Both Jennifer and Christina spoke about their tumultuous childhood, describing their mother's volatile temper and manipulative tendencies. Jennifer recounted the moment Celeste suggested they pick out pink caskets for themselves, a moment that had haunted her ever since. "I didn't understand it then," she said. "But now I know she was planning something far worse than we could imagine." Christina's testimony included details about the recording she had made of their mother's phone calls. The court listened intently as excerpts were played, revealing Celeste's erratic and threatening behavior. In one chilling segment, she admitted to plotting against Tracey, describing her as a problem that needed solving. The courtroom was silent as the weight of her words sank in. The defense sought to discredit Tracey and the twins, portraying them as unreliable and emotionally driven. They argued that Tracey's mental health issues made her an unstable witness, and that the twins were motivated by anger and grief. Celeste's attorneys painted her as a loving mother and a victim of circumstance, suggesting that Tracey had acted alone in a jealous rage. However, the evidence against Celeste was too strong. Forensic experts testified about the matching shotgun shell, the financial records showing her lavish spending, and the timeline that placed her at the center of the plot. Prosecutors also highlighted her history of manipulating those around her, from her daughters to her romantic partners. The trial lasted for weeks, and as the closing arguments were made, the stakes became painfully clear. If the jury found Celeste not guilty, Jennifer and Christina would never feel safe again. For them, the verdict was not just about justice for Stephen, it was about finally escaping their mother's shadow. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned with their decision. The courtroom held its collective breath as the foreperson read the verdict: guilty of the offense of capital murder. Jennifer and Christina embraced as tears streamed down their faces. Celeste, for the first time during the trial, appeared visibly shaken. Her composed facade cracked, revealing the cold reality of her situation. She would spend the rest of her life behind bars. As the trial concluded, Christina took the stand one final time to address her mother directly. Her voice was steady but filled with emotion as she spoke about the pain Celeste had caused. "What did I ever do to you except love you?" she asked. "You turned on us, on your family, and on the man who gave you everything. You are guilty. Shame on you." The courtroom was silent as she returned to her seat, the weight of her words lingering in the air. It was a moment of catharsis for the twins, a final act of defiance against the woman who had caused them so much pain. With Celeste sentenced to 2 consecutive 40-year prison terms, the twins could finally begin to heal. For the first time in years, they felt a sense of safety and freedom. Justice had been served, and while the scars of their ordeal would remain, they were determined to rebuild their lives and honor the memory of the man who had loved them unconditionally. The courtroom verdict marked a turning point in the lives of Jennifer and Christina Beard, but it was far from the end of their story. The conviction of their mother, Celeste Beard, was a victory for justice, but it also left a trail of emotional devastation that the twins would grapple with for years to come. For the first time in their lives, they were free from the shadow of Celeste's manipulations, but they were also left to confront the haunting memories of their father's murder and the betrayals that followed. In the weeks after the trial, the twins began the slow process of reclaiming their lives. The weight of the trial, coupled with the years of fear and trauma, had taken a toll on their emotional well-being. Jennifer, the quieter of the two, struggled with feelings of guilt and anger. She often questioned if there had been something she could have done differently, if she had missed signs of her mother's capacity for violence. Christina, ever the protector, threw herself into ensuring their safety and stability. She maintained a fierce determination to rebuild their lives, but the scars were evident. The trauma of testifying against their own mother and the harrowing realization that Celeste had plotted not only against their stepfather but also against them lingered in every interaction and decision they made. In an unexpected turn, Tracey Tarlton requested a meeting with the twins after the trial. The woman who had pulled the trigger wanted to express her remorse directly. Jennifer and Christina were hesitant but ultimately agreed to meet. In a small, private room, they faced the person who had physically carried out the act that shattered their family. Tracey, visibly emotional, apologized for her role in Stephen Beard's murder. She explained how Celeste had manipulated her, exploiting her mental health struggles and her desire for love and connection. "I thought I was helping someone in need," Tracey said, her voice trembling. "I see now that I was just another pawn in her game." The twins listened intently. While they could never forget what Tracey had done, they found solace in her genuine remorse. Jennifer later described the encounter as a step toward healing. "She didn't just kill our father," she said. "She was a victim too of my mother's lies, just like we were." Over the years, Jennifer and Christina worked tirelessly to rebuild their lives. Their bond, forged in the crucible of shared trauma, remained unshakable. Though they lived in different states, they made it a priority to stay connected, visiting each other often and providing mutual support. Jennifer found solace in focusing on her career and mental health. She used therapy to process the pain of her past and found a sense of purpose in helping others through volunteer work. Christina, now a mother of two, poured her energy into creating the loving, stable home she had always dreamed of. She often spoke about how her children represented a chance to break the cycle of dysfunction and trauma that had defined her childhood. For both women, the memory of their stepfather Stephen Beard was a guiding light. They honored him by cherishing the values he had instilled in them: kindness, resilience, and the importance of family. "Steve showed us what real love looks like," Christina said, "and that's what I want my kids to grow up knowing." Meanwhile, Celeste Beard began serving her 2 consecutive 40-year sentences. Behind bars, she maintained her innocence, blaming Tracey and others for what had transpired. Her defiance, however, did little to sway public opinion or the feelings of her daughters. Jennifer and Christina chose to sever all contact with their mother, viewing it as a necessary step to protect their mental health. For them, Celeste's incarceration was a bittersweet victory. While it provided a sense of safety, it also underscored the tragedy of their situation. Their mother, the person who was supposed to protect and nurture them, had instead been the source of their greatest pain. 20 years after the trial, Jennifer and Christina reflected on their journey. Their lives had been marked by unimaginable loss, but they had emerged stronger, bound by an unbreakable sisterhood. They often spoke about the importance of finding joy and purpose despite the darkness of their past. For Jennifer, this meant dedicating herself to her career and finding happiness in the small, everyday moments. For Christina, it was about being the mother she had always wished for, a nurturing presence who provided her children with the love and stability she had lacked growing up. Their story, though steeped in tragedy, became one of resilience and hope. The twins proved that even in the face of profound betrayal, it is possible to heal and build a life worth living. Together, they carried forward the memory of Stephen Beard, ensuring that his love and kindness remained a cornerstone of their lives. As Jennifer once said, "We've been through hell and back, but we survived. And that's the best revenge we could ever have." The trial of Celeste Beard marked the end of a dark chapter in Jennifer and Christina's lives. As the judge delivered the sentence, 2 consecutive 40-year terms, the courtroom was silent, save for the twins' quiet tears. Their mother, once a figure of love and trust, was now convicted of orchestrating the murder of Stephen Beard, the stepfather who had given them stability and unconditional care. For the twins, the verdict was bittersweet. Justice for Steve was achieved, but the emotional toll of their mother's betrayal lingered heavily. "She's our mom," Jennifer said quietly after the trial, but she's also the person who shattered our family." After the sentencing, Christina took the stand one last time. Facing her mother directly, she voiced the pain and anger she had carried for years. "What did I ever do to you except love you?" she asked, her voice trembling but resolute. "You turned on us, on the family that welcomed you and loved you. You are guilty. Shame on you." It was a cathartic moment for Christina, a declaration of strength and closure that marked the beginning of a new chapter for both sisters. With Celeste in prison, Jennifer and Christina could finally begin to rebuild their lives. Jennifer focused on her career and personal growth, finding solace in therapy and the support of close friends. Christina, now married and a mother of two, dedicated herself to providing the love and stability she and Jennifer had lacked during their tumultuous childhood. "I want my kids to know what unconditional love feels like," Christina said. "They deserve a life filled with joy and safety." Though they lived in different states, the sisters' bond remained unshakable. They often visited one another, their reunions filled with laughter, and shared memories of the man who had taught them kindness and resilience, Stephen Beard. "We honor him by living good lives," Jennifer said. "That's how we keep his memory alive." Celeste Beard's imprisonment brought an end to the danger the twins had lived under for years. Though she maintained her innocence from behind bars, Jennifer and Christina chose to sever all ties with her, prioritizing their mental health and healing. To them, Celeste's incarceration was both a relief and a reminder of the pain she had caused. As the years passed, the twins found strength in their shared resilience. They transformed their pain into a story of survival, proving that even in the face of unimaginable betrayal, it is possible to heal and move forward. "We've been through so much," Jennifer said, "but we survived. That's the life we've built for ourselves, one of love, hope, and strength." The sisters, now in their 40s, live lives filled with purpose and connection, their bond stronger than ever. Together, they continue to honor the memory of Stephen Beard, the man who gave them a glimpse of true family. Their resilience is a testament to the power of love and the unbreakable ties of sisterhood.